Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Introduce, my name is Miftakhul Firdaus Pratiwi. Here, I will discuss about water treatment and industrial wastewater treatment plant. Do you know that the water we have experienced so far is inherited water, which is a legality from the time of Prophet Adam? The water from the past was the same from the time of the Prophet Adam, because from the first our earth was one. We have not changed the earth from the time of the Prophet Adam. We will pass the same water on to our children and grandchildren. We must think that the quality of water from generation to generation is getting lower, so that this was the water treatment becomes a mandatory thing to do. Otherwise, it will be a disaster. How is the awareness to take care of this water heritage so that it is maintained, because it is this water that we will inherit? Here, I will discuss domestic water, namely water from households, not from industry. From industry, the water treatment is usually more complex because the composition in it is getting heavier, more difficult to dispose of into the environment. The rate is getting higher. Pumping air into water is not simple because it will change the organic and inorganic components. Inorganic ions that can form their oxides, and organic ions with aerobic aeration that can be decomposed by microbes. Well, this condition, if not done, what are the environmental conditions? This is an example. Why is the water rushing? Because it is pumped with air. The incoming water is then treated. This is the filtering result of stage 1. We need to separate this so as not to interfere with clogged piping. This is an example of using a machine, so there are lots of pills such as those, dentures, and others. Well, if not filtered, can cause clogged piping. So what is usually smooth is not smooth. Then balanced tanks are added and microbes are added. Breeding microbes is very useful for the nucleic acid. Is it possible that the conditions are very concreted by chemicals? Then the microbes possible, so that there are things that microbes cannot give first, because the water is so heavy, so it still needs more chemicals so it can settle. The use of the microbes is still on the condition that the water is not too heavy to be processed by microbes. What microbes usually like are inorganic compounds, sometimes even those whose organic compounds they can also multiply after they age. Then this clarifier, if the stirrer is slow, it is expected that this will settle below it. With this, the precipitate will be more easily generated. Then the sediment is sucked and dried so that it does not rot. After being deposited, it is then dried and given a disinfectant if the process is reversed. For example, given a disinfectant, the microbes will die. So, do not let the processing reverse. The next step is testing. Next is the industrial wastewater treatment plant. What is called water is polluted water that is not directly allowed to be dumped into the environment but must be treated first. At the stake of the wastewater treatment plant, the sugar factory has a very concrete waste character. The processing stake is the first in the inlet. Water enters the treatment process. This treatment is not mixed because the character or composition of the water is different, namely household and industrial wastewater after the inlet enters the filtering section. Now, this filtering is usually for water so as not to interfere with the next process, so that there is not waste such as paper, plastic, so that there are no problems in the piping. The next step is not either the equalization point stake, which is to accommodate the excessive amount of water and to balance the volume. Then do the cooling that is left alone to cool. Then enters the biological aeration ponds. Usually, this is done by microbes or decomposer. Aeration is contracting water with oxygen for easy decomposition. In these aeration ponds, sunlight is used to help the degradation process. Ions and oxygen to form oxygen. Microbes that decompose are aerobic microbes or require oxygen. There is a supply of nutrition and then in the aeration ponds to add microbes. The 60th stage is the clarifier, which is to purifying the water. The next stage of deposition will be between the sediment and the water. The next stage of deposition will be deposited between the sediment and the water. Then do a sun filter, namely replacing the ions that are not good. Then it to the sun. In the sun filter, there is an absorption event. Then enter the logon or control. Steak is a large pond with tilapia in it. This pond is an indicator that if the tilapia is still good and not dead, the water can be returned to the environment. No? Finally, the water meter here is analyzed whether the water has flown away or not. So from this video, I apologize if there are still mistakes in reading and speech. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.